gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Do I know what's going to happen? No, I'll guess.
We win one tomorrow. That's called a winning streak.
All right, I'm not a fucking league. This is my fucking way. This is how I win.
Adapt or die.
What's happening, everyone? Welcome into another episode of the A+ Sports League Podcast, Golf Edition. We've got the 2021 WGC Workday picks, preview, Draftkings. Remember to rate us, review, share with your friends, get the podcast out there. I'm your host, Matty Mai Tai, and not with me is actually Chris O'Neill. Unfortunately, we tried to record the podcast this morning. We got a new microphone, and about a minute and a half into recording, the microphone lost power, and we lost all the content that we recorded earlier today. So we're going to try a little something new today. I'm going to record myself doing some Draftkings breakdown and really exploring the betting market, and then Chris is going to record himself as well. So I will upload my recording tonight. This is Tuesday, February 23rd. And Chris will work on his tonight, and we'll upload that tomorrow. So today will be a little bit more betting, and tomorrow we'll have a little bit more Draftkings, and we can talk about mine and Chris's outright picks, top tens, and all of that. So we're going to jump right into it. Since just to review last week at the 2021 Genesis, it was a wild one at the end. Sam Burns was leading into the final round, driving down, and he just seemed to lose it. He had to finish his third round of scoring on Sunday because the weather was so bad on Saturday. And I think, 27-ish holes of golf really got to him. He fell off, and it was a tie between Max Homa and Tony Finau at the very end. Max Homa missed a 4-foot putt that he could have hit to win the tournament. Instead, he went to a playoff, and Tony Finau had a 5-foot birdie putt to knock him out and win his first tournament since Puerto Rico. But top five Finau strikes again, and he couldn't get it done. Max Homa ends up being the champion. I had him at 70-1 last week. I posted it on Twitter at Matty Mai Tai. He was my sleeper in the tournament last week, if you listened to the podcast, and that was a nice big win for the podcast. And that really makes 3 in a row for us here. I had Brooks Koepka 3 weeks ago at the Waste Management. Last week, Chris had Daniel Berger at the AT&T Pro-Am, and I had Max Homa this week at the Genesis. So hopefully we can keep the streak alive, and we can hopefully hit a winner at the WGC Workday concession, whatever you want to call this. This was originally supposed to be the 2021 WGC Mexico, but because of COVID restrictions, they weren't allowed to travel to Mexico this year. So it was moved to Florida. The sponsor was changed, the name was changed, and we are playing at the Concession Golf Club designed by Jack Nicklaus in Bradenton, Florida. It's a par 72, 7,470 yards. Like I said, Jack Nicklaus designed it with Tony Jacklin. The fun story behind that is that this was played in the 1969 Ryder Cup, and Jack Nicklaus conceded a 3-foot putt so that the Ryder Cup teams would actually tie that year, therefore Concession Golf Club. It's Bermuda grass greens and rough, and it's a course that has a lot of sand, a lot of water, and a lot of forced layups into it. The PGA has never had a tournament here. The only person that really has any playing experience is Bryson DeChambeau, as he played it in 2015 during a college event, and he actually won it. But outside of that, no one's really played this event, and it's unknown to a lot of golfers, but unknown to a lot of bettors as well. So it's going to be a little difficult to navigate this field this week when we really don't have any course history. It is a Florida course. It is a Nicklaus course, so it does compare to other ones such as Bay Hill and PGA National. We like to compare it to the Players, the stadium course at the Amex, and really try to narrow down the type of golfer that we're looking at. So to really analyze this course, we looked at Google Earth because it's really all you can go off of, and looked at the scorecard. And I counted over 100 bunkers. It seems like 7 or 8 holes will have water in play this week. So a lot of guys are going to be trying to go deep with the driver, and I think they're going to get penalized for either hitting bunkers or water hazards. And Nicklaus really designed this really, really smartly to force layups and not let bombers just gouge the course. That said, the par threes, there's 3 of them over 200 yards. Par fours, there are 5 between 400 and 450. So those are areas that I'm really trying to attack. All the par fives are between 550 and 600 yards. So with that in mind, I created a stat model that churned out a bunch of names based on those proximity ranges and those scoring opportunities. I really think that the two things that are important here this week are long irons and around the green game, because even if you get close to these greens, there are so many sand hazards in play that you're going to be chipping out of the sand or chipping in some thick rough. So I think around the green game and approach game really matters. Off the tee, not as much. Putting, hard to really tell. It's going to be Bermuda grass, so I'm going to gravitate towards guys who trend to putt well on Bermuda. Let's just jump right into it. We have the betting odds here. Dustin Johnson leads the way at 6-1. Rahm 8.5-1. Xander 12-1. Cantlay 16-1. Roy McIlroy 16.5-1. Tony Finau 18-1. Bryson 18.5-1. Justin Thomas 18.5-1. Daniel Berger 22-1. Tyrell Hatton 22.5-1. That's the top 10 in the betting odds. Right off the bat, DJ is very high again, and he's been playing better golf than anyone on the planet, but that's such a high number in a field so loaded like this. We saw it last week. He had a great tournament at Genesis, but on Sunday, he just didn't show up. Still finished T8, which sadly these days, that's a bad finish for Dustin Johnson when you come in 8th place, but he was in the final pairing on Sunday and just didn't really show up. So it is intriguing to see if Dustin is just a little fatigued and if the transition from California to Florida will suit him, but I will stay away at that number at 6-1. Rahm is interesting, but it's also high. Shoffley and Cantlay make big jumps here. 3rd and 4th on the board in the betting market. When there's guys higher in the world golf rankings behind them, Rory, Bryson, JT, and it's really hard to put an outright bet on them. If you really like them, go for it, but that's not me. I'm gravitating to Justin Thomas and Bryson DeChambeau. Both players missed the cut last week at Genesis. JT might have had the worst round of his life. I believe he lost 5.8 strokes putting, which is, you're not going to make the cut like that. So I think a lot of that can be fixed. JT is one of the better golfers on Bermuda. He doesn't get fazed by this Florida swing. I think he's a great bet. He's one of the better iron players, and in an area where you're going to have to lay up a lot and really focus on the around the green game, I think Justin Thomas at 18.5-1 is insane value. Some people can get it at 20-1. A couple weeks ago, JT was 9-1. So I think that's crazy value, and Bryson's the same value here as well. He actually showed some life on Friday. Thursday, he finished +4, and then on Friday, he went -2, barely missing the cut, but it seems like he kind of figured it out. And like we said, he has played here before. I think it's a little risky because I feel like he's going to bring the driver out and get himself into trouble with some of these water or sand hazards, but it is Bryson. He's very smart, and he has played the course, so maybe he'll lay it up. So I think those are two of the values at the top here. Going down a little bit further, we have Victor Hovland 22.5, 22.5-1, Webb Simpson 22.5-1, Koepka 26-1, Patrick Reed 31.5-1, Joaquin Niemann 35-1, Sungjae Im 40-1, Colin Morikawa 46.5-1, Scotty Scheffler the same, and Tommy Fleetwood 55-1. In that range, I really love Webb Simpson. Webb Simpson is my one and done pick this week. I hammered the bet immediately. On my book, I got him at 30-1 instead of 22.5. His number's kind of all over the board. This is a Bermuda course. He really crushes these Bermuda courses, and his iron play has been really well. He won 3 tournaments last year. I just think this suits Webb's game, and he doesn't have the disadvantage of not playing here too much. None of these golfers have any experience, and if you're going to put me on a cold track with a Webb Simpson who really just thrives in these situations where other golfers are going to have to lay up, but it's really maxing out for him on some of these drives. So I think Webb's a great play this week, especially at that value. He's a top 10 golfer in the world, and he's priced outside of the top 10 this week. Brooks Koepka could be an interesting value too. He also prefers Bermuda greens, and he has decent course history on Nicklaus courses. He came in second at the Honda a few years ago, and he just won a few weeks ago at the Waste Management Open. So I like Brooks Koepka here as well. 26-1, not bad. You might be able to find a better number. Right below him, Patrick Reed, a guy that has great around the green game. He won this tournament last year, albeit in Mexico. And his last time we saw him, he won the Farmers. He took a little bit of a break after that, and maybe he got rejuvenated for this Florida swing. So I like him as well at 31.5-1. And then the last player I'm really going to talk about in the outright market is Sungjae Im, 40-1. He was 45-1 this morning when me and Chris recorded it, but people have already been hammering it. He's 35-1 on my book. I bet Sungjae Im at 35-1. We talk about some of these comp courses. Sungjae Im's only win on tour was at the Honda Classic last year. That's a Jack Nicklaus design and it's a Florida Bermuda course. Sungjae crushes the Bermuda courses. He took a nice 2-week break from golf, which is a long time for him considering he plays more tour events than anyone on tour. And I really just think that his recent form is pretty good. He has the Bermuda aspect. He has a Nicklaus course history. And I mean, he's a hot golfer. He's top 20 in the world. At these odds, I really like it. I know Chris really liked Collin Morikawa at 46.5 to 1. He's number 1 in shot gained approach over the last 24 rounds. That's an insane number for a guy who just won a major last year. And it wasn't too long ago that Collin Morikawa was in the low 20s. He had a rough week last week, but it was all putting. He crushed it off the tee and he crushed it on approach. He just couldn't get the flat stick working. Does the move to Bermuda help him? I don't think so. That's why I'm not betting it, but it's a great value. And if you really believe in Morikawa, you're not going to get this number very often. Outside of that, there's some crazy numbers with Hideki Matsuyama at 62 to 1, Jason Day 66 to 1, not defending champ, but last week's champ, Max Homa 70 to 1 again, Abe Answer 80 to 1, and Billy Horschel 100 to 1. Now, Billy Horschel is my only long shot that I'm really going to throw some money on because Billy Horschel is another Florida course horse. And at 100 to 1 for a guy that plays the Honda every year, he's used to this kind of environment. I don't think that Billy Horschel is an elite golfer, and I have a hard time seeing him compete with these guys. But hey, Max Homa just won last week, so you never know. So I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of Billy Horschel, and I think that's really going to round out the betting card. I'm looking at some top 10s. I love Abe Answer this week, but I don't think he can win outright. But plus 500 for a top 10 bet, that's pretty enticing. I'm probably going to couple my Webb Simpson outright bet with a top 10. He's at plus 250. I think that's good value for him. Sungjae Im, another guy, if I'm going to bet him outright, I kind of want to go with the top 10 bet on him at plus 335. So that's kind of the outright and betting market for me this week. I will put my final betting card on Twitter at Matty Mai Tai. I'm going to quickly go into some of the DraftKings players I like real fast. Chris is going to go more into DraftKings tomorrow. My favorite player in the 10K range is probably Justin Thomas, as I said. I really just like the approach game, the iron game, the fact that he's not bad on Bermuda. And I think last week was an aberration. His grandfather just died. I think he was kind of in an emotional state. And I think, getting out of the tournament on Friday gave him time to mentally kind of relax, rewind a little bit, goes to Florida a couple days to just let things be. And then he gets right back out on this tournament. Rory, I know he's been playing really poorly. Chris doesn't like him. Chris is fading him. But at 10-4, fifth in the field, he's a guy with great Bermuda history. And I love Xander Schauffele. I really think he's going to have a great week this week. WGCs are his type of events. Most of his wins come in these short field events. And he's been playing better than anyone in the field, probably not named Dustin Johnson or Tony Finau. Down in the 9Ks, I do like Bryson, but I also like Patrick Reed, Webb Simpson, and Daniel Berger. They're all ranging between 9,300 and 9,100, and I think this is a great opportunity to get an elite golfer in a low 9K range. If I have to go to the 8K range, I like Sungjae Im, as mentioned. He's 8,800. I think, honestly, he will be the most owned golfer in DraftKings this week. So if you want to pivot play, get away from Sungjae, but I'm going to be using him, especially in some smaller cash plays, double ups. Big tournament, maybe not. I like Hideki at 8,400. He hasn't been playing well, but at 8,400, really all you need Hideki to do is show up in the top 20. And with his iron play and his around the green game, especially on Bermuda, I mean, Hideki was leading the way at the Players' Championship at -9 last year before COVID came in and they canceled the tournament. I think Hideki can handle this type of field. I think Hideki can handle this style of course. And at 8,400, massive discount. I'm going to jump down to the 7Ks. I don't like this range very much. It's a lot of guys with a lot of question marks, but all guys that have won a tournament in the last year. Mark Leishman, Matthew Wolff. Jason Day hasn't won, but he's been relevant, and he used to be a former number one player in the world. A lot of these guys are intriguing, but I like Harris English. I know he won the Tournament of Champions and hasn't been very good since, but me and Chris even discussed Harris English. Is he elite? He may not be elite, but for 7,500, I just don't know how I stay away from him. He's a great Bermuda putter. He crushed this swing last year between the Honda and the API, finishing 17th and 9th in those two tournaments. And this really kicked off the Harris English resurgence last year when he did the Florida swing. I think this course fits him well. He has decent form at Nicklaus courses, and I will be gravitating towards him. The lower 7K range, Billy Horschel, I talked about it. He's a big Florida guy. He's been playing pretty well, and he has just the consistency on Jack Nicklaus courses that you want to see in this lower range. And my favorite 6K golfer is Abraham Ancer. He is just killing the proximity ranges that I like here. 5th from proximity 100 to 125, which is the iron range we really want. He's 7th in par 4 between 400 and 450, which we talked about. He's been playing really well. And to be honest, Abraham Ancer's best tournament of his career is the Amex, which the stadium course is designed by Jack Nicklaus. And Abraham Ancer has finished top 5 there in the last 2 years. He's only played the Honda Classic once and he missed the cut. And Bermuda is not his favorite surface, but at this low of value, I will definitely be using him. I like him as the top 10 play. And, you know, I kind of feel the same about Gary Woodland. He's playing very well except for his putting. And if he can get it together, that's a great value at 6,800. So that's really it for me. Those are the guys I wanted to highlight. Chris is going to go a little bit more in depth with the Draftkings scoring and all the categories that he used to build his custom model. In our head-to-head picks against each other, I chose Xander Schauffele as my outright play, Webb Simpson as a top 10 play at plus 250. My sleeper is Billy Horschel, who I mentioned 100 to 1. Top 10 player I want to fade, Tony Finau. I think even though he's gone second in his last 3 tournaments, I think it's just starting to wear on him, and I don't think Florida is really his style of golf. Obviously, it's a short event, so he will be around there, and he can always go -7. But of all the guys in the top 10, I'm least confident in Tony Finau. My 7K golfer that I'm going to be using this week the most, as I said, Harris English, can't talk enough about him. And my 6K golfer is Abraham Ancer. My one and done pick, I'm not using Xander because there's some tournaments I have planned out for him. And you really got to navigate when you want to use certain guys. I do like him as an outright bet, but one and done, I'm going to use Webb Simpson. As I said, he's one of my favorite plays this week. So that's it for me. Those are all my picks. Those are all my bets. And as I said, I will be uploading this tonight, and tomorrow Chris will be uploading his DraftKings picks, his outright bets, his one and dones, his top 10s, and everything under the sun. So hopefully this shorter clip, this little experiment that we're trying to do, will actually serve you better than what we did this morning, because it seems like an incredible waste of time. Obviously a little bit more dry with just one person talking here, but hopefully I gave some information and gave some opinions on how I think this tournament's going to shake out, and maybe we can get some winners in here. I'm really hoping for the Webb Simpson one, but I'll take anything. Let's make it 4 in a row. Let's win some money, and good luck with all your bets. Thanks for listening.